Say,
there and was there, and it was good enough.
And Carly puts up such amazing pictures too.
Huh?
Carly puts up such beautiful.
Yeah. Come out, but I don't know if I can get out this summer, and I can't go in the winter.
I was gonna say.
No.
nobody's not going to the bathroom together.
He's gonna go boss Kenner
I'm just going to the bathroom to get.
You're really curious about my, oh wait, Lee's coming back.
Listen, I say, you smell good.
Ready, yes.
Oh my God, they make me sick on my stomach. It smells so bad.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to call the Children's Trust regular board meeting of June 10th, 2024 to order. And the first thing I've got to do is read any member of the public wishing to be heard shall come forward to the podium at this appropriate time and introduce themselves to the board. Members of the public recognized by the chair will have 3 minutes to speak on a single subject matter or to address the current motion on the floor. The clerk of the trust will function as the timekeeper. The clerk will now call roll. Present.
Member Certain.
Here.
Member 10. Here. Member.
Here.
Member Ferrero.
Here.
Member Hart. Member Lavarda.
Here.
Higginson.
Here.
Member Tremblay.
Okay, we have a quorum and nobody's asking for that, so need approval of the agenda. Are there any changes?
I move approval of the agenda, the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and second. Do we have any discussion? Have any public discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion is unanimous. On to the next thing, which will be anybody from the public would like to come forward and to address the board about anything that isn't necessarily on the agenda. This would be the appropriate time to do so. You will also have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Okay, we'll just, yes.
I didn't ask this during the discussion in the consent agenda item, the emergent needs, there was something in there from Black on Black. What's the amount on it? I didn't see it. Did I miss it?
It should be on there.
It was on there.
Okay, I missed it.
I don't remember the exact number, but.
It's not in order.
It wasn't, okay, that's probably why I missed it, because I was reading the memo. Okay, all right, don't worry.
Yeah, because that's what tells them the amount. 6,500.
Okay, thank you.
It's your turn. The executive director would like to give her presentation, a report,
Thank you, sir.
item number 10.
I want to start with, although this meeting in my report should be discussing May, there was a,
Let me interrupt. Everybody, we've had requests that we keep these on. So if you're, okay, thank you.
Red, make it green.
Okay, moving right along.
Unless you're a judge.
I have to highlight our BLI Business Leadership Institute recognition program on Saturday, although it was in June. I won't see you all possibly again until August. So I had to talk about how wonderful it was. We were at Santa Fe. It was Saturday, and it was like a graduation of sorts for all of the folks who participated in our leadership program. There were 12 businesses that we recognized in the Accreditation Academy, and there were 14 businesses that graduated from the master class. And did we bring no, you were gonna make some kind of change on it. You didn't bring okay. So I'll pass it around then. We created this, put it in a plaque, in a frame for them. Pass it around for me, Scott. And it was one of the, a certificate along with, they all received a stipend, and that framed photo of their cohort. They can put in their businesses. We're going to put a copy up in our offices, but it really was a wonderful, wonderful event. They were proud of themselves. They had to commit to once a month coming together, spending several hours to learn about how to make their businesses better. Our investment in these folks is going to have a direct correlation on the types of early learning centers that we have here in the community. So I wanted you all to know we had a room full and it was a really feel good experience for them, and I feel like for us. I also want to say to CTAC staff, Mia worked really, really hard to ensure that it was a great program. Kirsten was there, and Belita and Demetrica, the staff came, they were there as a support, and it was a great event. So I wanted to highlight that and share that with you.
Thank you.
Additionally, you should be seeing Children's Trust signs all over the county. We have been handing out yard signs and banners and window clings to anybody that we fund, because folks don't know that money is coming from the trust to support these programs. Well, I shouldn't say they don't know, they didn't know. They will know now. So all of our providers have been, with the exception of maybe a couple, right, Amali, if Amali is here, but everybody will be receiving some kind of signage that they now are responsible for ensuring is up in their business, in their organization. So I've seen a couple, and my mom is always my litmus test. And when she calls me to tell me that I saw Children's Trust, wherever she is around the county, I start smiling. So wanted to share that with you. Additionally, I also wanted to let you know that we're going to have some trust interns over the summer. I don't see any of them here, but several of you have been to the building. You may come over. You will see our teens work. We have 2 teens work young folks who are going to be with us this summer. We also have 2 interns, one in our research area and one in our communications and marketing area. So we're excited about welcoming them to the team. And what else am I missing? Max, please stand. I want to introduce you to our newest staff member, Max D. Zuter. Yes, Max is our new contract manager, i.e. our new Dion. And Max has over 10 years of experience overseeing grant-based community programs. He served as a regional director of programs in Chicago with a program entitled After School Matters, which managed and administered over 200 after-school and summer programs. He's also served as an associate director at Alliance for Healthier Generations, where he administered a program aimed at reducing childhood obesity by improving school nutrition and physical activity. So we are excited to have Max. Yeah.
Started on Monday, had a great week, mostly, the great staff here and getting outfitted with,
Stuff.
and computers and, but no, I'm very excited to be here. It's clear I've got plenty to learn, but I'm confident that in time I also have a lot to offer. Hopefully can bring some insights and, to help, the organization solve problems and develop and grow over time. But, thank you for fixing me, and I'm happy to be here. Welcome.
Welcome.
So really excited about Max being here. And then 2 more items and I'll be quiet. We take off July. So enjoy your time until you receive an email from us about something. And I also want to, I don't know if I've shared it with you all or not, but the trust is sponsoring the PBS Kids Zone for fanfare and fireworks. That's going to be at UF on July the 3rd. They've told us there are going to be about 10,000 people out there. It's a huge event. We will be there. We've invited some partners to come and join us. And Kirsten sent me the list that I didn't write it down. I forget, but it's about 5 of our partners. 4 of them will be included with us, and we're going to be doing all things kids under a tent in the hot sun. But it should be a lot of fun, and you're going to see Children's Trust plastered all over everything. So we are very excited about that. And then last comment, we will have a workshop, as I mentioned earlier, on the 12th before the board meeting. We haven't determined a time yet. So we will send you an email asking you if you have a preference for the time on August 12th. And that workshop will be on maternal child health initiatives. That's all I have.
Okay, and the finance committee membership update, is that the say that we met?
Can I ask for a quick
Yeah,
question?
oh, yes.
Yeah, so thank you. Couple things. So first of all, signs, great. 76 programs or however many, that's great. I saw in your update, you met with the city and the county on the 16th of May regarding the gun violence. Is there any more movement on that?
So the meeting last week was a meeting of the Alliance. There was a SWOT analysis. They invited community partners to participate in that. So I don't have a specific update in terms of how that money, how that 250,000 is going to be spent as of yet.
Okay. Had a joint meeting with the city of High Springs with the county commission, and they are ecstatic. Each of the commissioners actually said that the work that the trust is doing in that city is amazing. So I just want to tell you that. And it's nice as we're meeting with these small cities to hear that. And so thank you for that. The last thing I would ask is it possible in the workshop on August 12th to add the policy discussion about how we fund our partners as a percentage of their budget? We've had a discussion about when we fund 10%, 20%, more than 50%. If we're funding most small entities, majority of their budget, they should really be employees of the trust. And so that's an issue. It's an issue at the county. And so we've taken some steps. Is it possible that we could have a workshop about that with staff? Would you be ready for that, or do you need more time?
I know Christy is talking with Jay at the county. I don't know, I know we have not gotten beyond, we should have a discussion about. I don't want to muddy the waters between the August 12th, which is about maternal child health. So what we could do is look at another date to come back to you. Are you trying to have the conversation before we complete the budget? Is that what you're trying to do, Ken?
I think it's important, the sooner the better. I think the next RFP that's coming back to us is the youth. Youth health.
Health will come in
So
August.
I don't know if it will be ready for that, but certainly before we get to the next RFP, I think we need to have that discussion.
I think at least we might be able to ask the question of every provider that we've got a contract with, what's your total budget? And then we figure out what the percentage, and at least we have a baseline as we look at the budget to see that.
And you mentioned that at our finance committee meeting, Maggie.
If I may, I recall, I was just confirming with Demetrika, that is something we are embedding in the budget process for 25, asking those specific questions. You know, the proportion of their total budget, operating budget, and how much ours represents of that. So at least for data collecting, if you will.
So that'll give us a baseline to start looking at it.
What I was
On the
gonna-
list, and we talk about it soon.
Okay, because what I was going to say, Ken, is maybe if you could give us, one of our though I know our meetings in September are a little longer because we have the trim meetings as well. But if you all would be willing to give us until September, one of those 2 meetings to have the workshop or one of those, that might be better for us.
That'd be great. Thank you. That's it.
Wanted to bring up Maggie.
Yes, so we would like to, we invited Maggie, or Maggie asked to be included on our finance committee, and we
Move that we add road member Maggie to the finance committee.
Second.
Yes, participated without even being on the committee.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We
Which
have-
was great.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Three members on finance.
Lee, myself, Cheryl, and there would be Maggie, so it'd be four. And Cheryl, Cheryl chairs. Treasurer chairs.
Any public discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed, motion is unanimous. The next item would be the Gainesville for All follow-up. Ms. Lawrence?
Yeah, you're.
Mr. Lawrence, good afternoon. I understand you've got 10 minutes for the follow-up, and I want to thank you very much for coming forward today and giving us a follow-up for the questions that we asked. I do have one request, and that is that if there's a budgetary discussion that you would like to have, because this is the budget season, I would like you referred to staff, and the staff will get you fixed up as far as they will look at that request to see if there is anything extraordinary about what you will be offering that separates your program from everybody else, because what we have to keep in mind is with these requests is that we don't set a precedent as far as if we do something for you, that we have to do for everybody else. So, but what I really want you to do is we want to hear what your responses are from the questions that we have, and then turn you over to staff as much as possible. Please.
Okay. That's what we'll do. I was
Okay.
expecting a little something different. First of all, let me just say, I appreciate the opportunity to come back and try to clarify what the questions from back in April and answer any other questions that you might have. I would like, on top of answering some of those questions, I would like to share with you some of the things that have developed at our center just in the last 6 weeks or 2 months. And we're having some issues around my actually showing you on screen. I just learned that things aren't working quite as well as we had hoped. So if we could just go to the slide about some of our accomplishments. So the main thing, let me just start, is that we have been really, really heartened by the fact that since April, our enrollment has really jumped, skyrocketed in some ways. I'd like to use that word because back then we had 39, and today we have more than 60. And on Friday, we had one parent came in to enroll 4 of her children. So by the end of the week, we expect to have close to 65. And as you may recall, our goal has always been 87. We can service up to 128, but 87, based on the staff, child ratios, that's the number where we want to go. That's the number where we want to go. Now, I'm going to be joined here, and right now, because he hit me with some things that I hadn't anticipated, because I brought along remotely our internal accountant who was going to walk you through the question that the commissioner over there, Commissioner Cornell, had asked about our break even. So is there still an
Well,
opportunity?
it was, all that was in the backup, and everybody should have read it. So, I mean, we are familiar with that it took a certain number, and the numbers involved, it was over $1 million and whatnot. So I know that I personally read it, and I'm sure all the other board members did too.
Okay, so you're saying there's no real need to
No, sir.
do that?
No, you don't have to, no, sir,
Okay.
unless you want to.
No, it doesn't seem like that would be necessary. However, I would like to just point out some of these accomplishments, achievements in the last 6 weeks. if I could just do that, and, then I will confer with your staff.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
make sure that it's green so they can hear you.
Can you guys hear me? It was green,
Okay, if it's
Okay.
green.
but
you
I'm
want it
trying to
be-
get this to move, the, report. If I could just get the first page of that.
There we go.
Okay, so we talked about,
We have the backup. We've got it. So if you just want to tell us flip page or go to the next page,
okay,
we've
well,
got it.
well, let's go to the next page. And here as, in the list of achievements, we talked about the Rosen Foundation and the $35,000
Congratulations.
and thank you. And that's a real strong endorsement that he gave to us for what we're doing at the GZ FOC. And that letter essentially urges the community, the local community, to really get behind what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today, is to talk about why we think the Children's Trust should get behind us. You guys have supported us in many ways, and we were forever grateful for what you've already done. But we do need some more support in terms of just to solidify our infrastructure, the infrastructure that we've already put in, and that is working pretty well. Essentially, the area of concern, and I do depart from my presentation based on the comments that were made by the chair here, but we're looking at essentially a deficit of about $22,000 for this year. And we'd like to increase our scholarship assistance program. And that right now is 10% of our revenues. We want to increase it to at least 20% of our revenues. And for that reason, that's why we're asking, our ask is for $100,000 to support us as we move a one-time application for that. That essentially is it, based on what we've already talked about here and then what your request is. I had a full presentation, but the questions that were asked are all answered in that report, step by step and even beyond. Let me just add to Executive Director Kiner's comments about Saturday's event. It was indeed a great event. Our interim director, was one of the graduates who completed the program. He's very excited, and I think that she has been equipped to an extent to really help us out in a bigger and greater way. So we do appreciate the help of the Children's Trust.
Any questions?
Any questions for me?
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations, first of all, on the progress
Thank you.
from the last time we saw you at that podium. It's really great. On page, it's on page 91, it says the tuition revenue increases from 71,000 a month in the first quarter to 89,000 per month in the last quarter. That's projected revenues of 25, correct?
Yes, it is. And I'd like to, Victoria Liu, who I brought along, she is in New York at a family event that she stepped away from so that she could participate in this very important presentation. If we could get Victoria, she's in New York, and
Hi, Victoria. So the question is, how many enrolled gets you to that $90,000 number a month is kind of the magic number. How many enrolled gets you to that, and how many of those are scholarshiped under this presumption? I presume it's 20%.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Can you guys all hear me fine?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Commissioner. So to answer the question, really the jump from the first quarter to the last quarter is because in 2025, for us to reach the break-even point, we actually increased the capacity from 87 to 110. So we need 110 kids to break even, and that is through incremental increase. So the first quarter, we are projected at 90% of that, and then at the end of that 2025 quarter, we are projected to be at 100% of that capacity of 110 to break even. It stays at 10% of that for scholarship expense that we have budgeted for. But our goal, as Mr. Lawrence was explaining earlier, was that we want to increase that scholarship to 20%.
So to clarify, first quarter, 91 kids moving up to 110 to break even. And of the 110, 10% would be scholarships, so approximately 99 would be paying.
110. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And so, how much per child? I guess it's essentially $1,000 a month, a little bit more than $1,000, a little bit less than 1,000 a month per child. So to increase to 20%.
Average.
Yeah, average,
Mhm.
increase to 20%, that would be an additional $100,000 need.
That's correct.
And is that what the $100,000 request is for, basically?
Yep, that's essentially where we're getting our need from.
Okay, last question. Thank you. Thank you for participating. On page 94, I see grants of 25 to 50,000. Congratulations. Major donations from 35 to 50,000. That I presume is a Rosen grant. That's great. What is the state aid from 100 to 300?
That is what we're seeking from the state. We have been speaking with the Senator, Pete Perry, and who's agreed to help us with that. So it didn't happen this year. We're going back again next year. You haven't covered legislatures during my career. I know pretty much how they work, so you just keep banging.
Well,
Keep
say,
banging on
so
the-
that's great. Is that 300 in the revenue number or is that
No, it's
additional?
not.
So that could potentially fund the shortfall. Yeah, so Senator Perry's not gonna be in the legislature next year, so we probably need to
That's
reach
why
out
it's
to,
not included there.
yeah.
One of the reasons.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's it.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Maggie.
The 110 that you need, I'm assuming you've got something built in for people who just don't pay, so they're enrolled, but they're behind. So your revenue is gonna always have to have a uncollectible account kind of,
Yeah, so we do have that accounted for.
what percent are you thinking is gonna be uncollectible? Bad debt, basically.
Right now, we have allocated 5% of our revenues per month.
And I might add that we are actively talking to our parents who are late in making their payments. We've developed a very tightly written late payment schedule and policy. So, and we are abiding by this, because I think it was, Ms. Certain over there who mentioned, yes, it is a business. And we are treating it like a business.
I saw the 5%. I saw it. That's what
Okay?
Any other questions?
I guess,
Yes, Tina.
part of the students, what he's seeking for scholarship, is the parents that are there at his school, would they be able to come in upon the conversation we had
with
earlier?
ELC.
With ELC, yeah, that,
Yeah.
and working that list.
Okay.
Thank you
Judge.
for working towards getting your staff trained on trauma-informed care through DCF. In terms of salaries and wages, can you tell me a number, how many people are employed under that number?
How many?
It says salaries for lead teachers, teacher assistants, staff, and administrative costs. What are you talking about in terms of how much staff do you have?
Well, we're looking at, based on if you're talking about this year or for next year, when we were at full capacity, we were talking about 7 teachers and 5 assistants.
But
I'm getting my calculator out. You can keep going though, if you'd like. I may come back.
Mr. Lawrence, I applaud you for what you're trying to do. With you're trying to pay your employees, something they can live on,
Decent wage.
and, insurance and, the benefits and the whole package. I think that is a model that is certainly one that's everyone should strive, to give their employees. What I think may be problematic, however, is that if you ask us, if that $100,000 includes money for that, what that does essentially is that opens a trust up for every other childcare facility to come in and say, you did it, for Gainesville Empowerment Zone, you should do it for us as well. And we don't have enough money for that. So what, and I've thought about it because, you and I have had discussions and I think that if there's something about the program that, that you ask the trust for that really isn't salary related, then I think, that might be someplace where we can talk. Because I think what you're probably going to have to do, to give the extra benefits that you would like to give your people, which is incredibly commendable, is I think that's where you have to come in with the fundraising activities. Because you are giving something to your employees, that is a truly a benefit that, a lot of regular businesses don't give. And I think, that may be an area where you have to focus on fundraising so that it will enable you to do those extra things for your employees. But as far as something for the children, and yes, having a teacher, that will be attracted by what you offer will definitely benefit the children.
And that's our line of thinking.
I understand that. But then again, it goes back to, yes, but if we did the same thing for every other, childcare facility, that would enable them to do the same thing as well. I just, it's a dilemma. And that's why I would like to, go ahead and get you to talk with staff so they can work with you to find out what differentiates Gainesville Empowerment Zone from, from other childcare facilities. And I know that Marcia is very interested in trying to find a solution, because I know for a fact that she believes in what you're doing. So, you're half the battle's right there. So, congratulations with that. Yes. Good.
Thank you. I appreciate the work that Mr. Lawrence is doing. But he just said something that really made me want to come back to it.
Okay.
Okay. So I am glad that the pay is there. What I'm hoping that we could do and how we could support Mr. Lawrence is through the scholarship fund, because I do have the same concern that you have about it, us being the supporter of all things childcare. And I think we are putting a lot in the ELC. But I want to look back when you said that he's offering something to his employees that other agencies are not offering to theirs.
Right.
And that is the same line of argument or the same point I was making when we as a trust were considering paid family leave. We're spending taxpayer dollars and there are no other entities that have paid leave outside of what you have in your accrued sick and vacation time. And I feel our organization is very generous in that, but we went out on a limb, as an organization to offer that to our employees. So I think we got to reset our thinking. And because childcare workers, most of them don't make a living wage. They themselves, in turn, need the assistance that he is here advocating for. But we're saying that we want rich preschool and early learning, that's how this whole trust kind of got going, right? 0 to 5. So we want to provide those experiences for our youth, but then we balk at, it is expensive to provide this service. Childcare is extremely expensive, and I've been hearing and reading in, the Times, Washington Post, and NPR, about this cliff that childcare providers are on because of the federal money now being pulled back that was used to support them during the pandemic. But even before that, childcare providers, they just couldn't, they didn't have the revenue to be able to, I guess, to pay people, not I guess, to pay folks a living wage. So I commend you for wanting to do it. It is a thankless field. I think it is primarily has in the past been staffed by women, that's a whole nother story. I think that's why it's depressed. And I think women of color who so into the lives of children, but then they need to be on public assistance. So they are the families, the Alice families that United Way and all, and I'm sure that there's going to be some initiative that we're going to be supporting as a trust. The trust will probably be supporting. So I think we just kind of in this little cycle here. And like we have the people who are administering programs, who work at this organization as I've said, I don't know if you remember, like how our room used to be set up when we first started the trust. And it was just the 5 statutory people. And I used to say, there are a lot of people who make a real good living off of providing services to those who are the people who live on the margins of our society, who are underserved, under-resourced, haven't gotten a fair shake. I always feel like I'm the one who like kind of saying things about the person on the end there. So I think we just kind of like, but I get your point. I just wanted to make that point because we did as an organization, we're spending taxpayer dollars, and I think we're the only entity in this county who's doing it, who's providing paid family leave. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. It's not a good thing. I just think when we jump off the cliff, the county's doing it now? Oh, y'all gonna get it.
We modeled our policy off of the county's
I'm the
policy.
one that brought it up, sorry.
Yeah, my property taxes are real high. I'm gonna get on you about that, but that's a whole nother stuff. Thank you for letting me speak.
Talk about that later.
Anyone else, Maggie?
Yeah, I just, my sense of it is we have to find a way, if we're gonna do it for one, we have to find a way that makes
Right.
sense to
The
do it for
scholarship.
all. And I think the scholarship is the appropriate vehicle for that, because otherwise
Slippery slope.
it's a very slippery slope and
So
it
how
gets
do
us
how would you
outside.
see that working here? I mean, that's basically what they're asking for. They're asking for 100,000 to provide additional scholarships.
Well, but I think we've got the whole ELC piece that we're working through that would increase substantially what's available, particularly for those Alice families as the target. And I think that's the vehicle. I don't think it's
For 1 year too.
I don't think it's I don't think it's appropriate to create a special funding vehicle. And I get it. I mean, it's in some ways kind of trying to do the best of the best and do a demonstration site in some respects for what can be done if you do this right. But I think there's others in the county who would feel the same way. And, so I just think if we could figure out a scholarship approach, that would be the most appropriate.
Ms. Lawrence.
Let me just respond to one. I think I've said this before this group before, and I'm often saying it in the community. We don't resist being called a child care provider, but that's not what this is all about. This is all about the achievement gap. This is about getting to the families early. I don't believe there's any other providers that are necessarily doing it, or at least doing it in the way that we're doing. I just spent, before getting here this afternoon, an hour and a half with our family engagement specialist, talking about the kinds of things that we need to be very aggressive about as we identify the needs of families that we are serving. So while yes, high quality childcare is very important, especially for low-income families, the low-income families that we're serving. But if we are really serious as a community about trying to do something about a problem that is disturbing and has been for decades, not only in this county, but around the nation. And believe me, having been a journalist for as long as I have been and having traveled the country and seeing these problems, at what point are we going to bite the bullet and say, hey, let's do something about it? We're a pilot. We're a pilot for doing something differently to achieve a different game. So I understand everything that you're saying, but I do resist saying that we're another provider, child care provider. We provide child care, high quality child care, but that's not all that we're doing. That's not our game. We just a couple of weeks ago, we took a group of our parents and the family. There were about almost 100 people. Pictures, I had it in my presentation, to the Harn Museum. For many of those families, it was the first time, the very first time they've ever been to an art museum. They grew up right here in this community. There are countless numbers of families like that. You know, so if we can get to those families and introduce them to a different way of life, different things that are happening right here in their own community, we can really start to make a dent. We can make a change.
And Mr. Lawrence, to that point, those are the type of things that the discussion with the staff can probably, y'all can find some happy place,
Okay.
okay?
And could I make one last
And
point?
Ken would like to say something.
Well, just one last point. So, Mr. Superintendent, their facility, they're contracted, they're good there for another, when's the term? 2 years?
Yes, we're actually working on another contract right now. No, to extend it past that we'll be bringing to the board. So
Okay.
Mr. Lawrence and I have been working on another contract because they started late in their lease.
Okay.
They weren't able to open as projected in 2022. It took until 2023. So to support them in their investment, we're working currently on another contract and an MOU to bring to the school board for approval.
Okay, so that's,
The current one goes through, to answer your question, June 30th of 2025.
okay.
But that's.
So hearing that the school board then makes a long-term investment past that is significant to me, and I appreciate the school board for that. And I suspect that they will. The only point I wanted to make is in the workshop, which I'm not sure if you got here when we passed that motion. We passed the motion, which is on item 15, to see if the 300,000 could be utilized under classified goal 1 and the additional 491,000 of unallocated money could be utilized for staff. So we've given staff the direction to find a way to serve both family engagement and scholarships. And so I think having Mr. Lawrence referred to staff to kind of work through those items is exactly where we need to be. And we've already given that direction, I feel like. So thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Can I say something too? So just to weigh in that I've seen the work that's done there. I went to their graduation here recently with the first round that they graduated out of there. And I have a little one that I mentored that was a 5-year-old. She's heading over to Metcalf next year. And so just anecdotally, I saw her start there. She was learning. It wasn't just childcare. She was probably teaching some there too, but nonetheless, she went into the school year, and I could tell in conversations we would have when we mentor her on the weekends, we typically lean in and help with her and her sister, that achievement was certainly taking place. And on my visits, I come out and visit. There is that sense of care for the 1 and 2-year-olds, but they're also working with them on skills. And so, and I know with the engagement of the families that in the turnout that evening at the graduation, there was it was a packed house, and there was only 9, maybe 10 first year, 10 going out. But I could definitely see, and like I said, monitored the learning and was impressed that it's more than childcare. And I know y'all probably know that, but just to reinforce it, that I saw that progress amongst the children, and certainly this little one's going to be kindergarten ready. And a lot of things, she came home, I think she learned a few more colors than I know in Spanish. And so, it's there, it's happening, and we do appreciate it. So going back to the scholarship piece, I think that's certainly important because some families get the voucher, but they can't go beyond 1 o'clock because the voucher's for the half day, for a minimal amount of time. So it doesn't get them the full day there. So I definitely think there's opportunities there to extend the day for some children and also extend the opportunity in creating additional access for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Okay, next item, which I believe is item number 13, RFP.
All right, Felita is going to share with you where we are with our RFP in Richmond.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Purpose of this presentation is to review the enrichment RFP, which includes the recommendations from the board workshop that we held on May 30th. Also, it includes information received from the enrichment providers within Alachua County. We had an input session that we held on May 15th. Also, I would like to mention that the following changes included in the RFP were established through the workshop. Some of those changes include bonus points for selected rural areas, bonus points for usage of an evidence-based model, as well as we added question 1 to our evaluation criteria, which asked the provider to identify which goal they would come under. It would either be goal 1 or goal 2, or they could put both. Also, we included question 5, which you will see in the budget criteria under the evaluation criteria. With this RFP, we want to provide service opportunities to children and youth with educational programming and activities that extend beyond the regular school day, after school, or summer camp. Enrichment programs are designed to address youth needs in many different areas, such as cultural, social, emotional, arts, STEM, and recreation. Providers will be able to submit applications for this RFP through our SAMS database, which we currently piloted with the the health RFP. So this will be our second time that the providers will be able to submit applications through our SAMS database. To go over our submission timeline, this Thursday, June 13th, will mark the RFP release date, as well as the beginning of the Cone of Silence. Bidders Conference and application training is scheduled for June 18th. We will also hold office hours for technical support on June 25th, as well as the 27th. Applicants will be able to submit questions through SAMS, with the last available day to do so being July 2nd. The trust will have all responses to the questions posted by July 8th, and submission deadline for this RFP is July 11th. The application review process will take place between July 15th and July 25th. The review process will now include a 3 to 5 minute video about their organization and the enrichment services being proposed. What we are asking in this video is the name of the organization, the summary of the services offered, number of years organization has offered services in Alachua County, the impact they believe that their program will have on the lives of the children, and why it is important for the trust to fund their program. Funding recommendations will be included in the August 5th board packet, followed with a review and approval of the recommendations at our August 12th meeting at 4 p.m. I added that 4 p.m. because Lee was very specific. He wanted to know when our cone of silence ended. So our cone of silence will also end on that day at 4 p.m. Contract negotiations will begin on August 15th, with contracts set to start on October 1st, 2024. We have allocated $250,000 for this enrichment RFP. Of course, the target is children and youth in Alachua County. The terms of service will be October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025, with a renewal opportunity October 1st, 2025 is to September 30th, 2026. Minimum qualifications. All proposed services must take place in Alachua County, must be currently qualified to conduct business in the state of Florida, must not be a charter school approved by any public school system in the state of Florida. Applicants must have experience working with youth in out of school time and focus on promoting positive youth development in safe and enriching environments. Applicants must plan to offer in-person youth development services and activities. The trust seeks applications from organizations offering enrichment services in the following areas. We have health and wellness, leadership, life management skills, as well as career exploration, STEM, social and emotional well-being and awareness, also arts and culture, and we added other because we may have some providers that don't fall in that 7, and they may have a unique program or idea that they want to offer, and we didn't want to exclude them. So that's why you see that other category there. Our target population and service. Of course, we want to serve the children and youth residing in Alachua County. Eligible sites across Alachua County, we want the enrichment providers to go into schools, city and county parks and facilities, community organizations, summer camp sites, after-school sites, faith communities and youth civic groups. We really want the providers to start thinking outside the box and go outside of just going to summer camps and after schools. We want them to really get into the community and see what's out there, which we are looking on helping them to find those areas. Also, CTAC expects all applicants to offer enrichment services in Alachua County's rural communities. Listed below, you have Alachua, Archer, Hawthorne, High Springs, La Crosse, Micanopy, Newberry, and Waldo.
Good job.
In an effort to increase services within our rural communities, bonus points, which I will go over, will be given to applicants that will offer services in Archer, Hawthorne, and Waldo. This was just based on the discussion of what we're seeing in the rural communities. We felt that those communities would really benefit from having enrichment services in Archer, Hawthorne, and Waldo. Providers will be able to seek funds for the following areas. The session cost includes all expenses necessary to offer a full session, background screens, and transportation. The cost per session should include all expenses necessary to offer a full session. An example of an allowable item to calculate sessions includes staffing time, materials, insurance. I think I'm trying to think about what I've seen come across my desk. So that's pretty much wraps it up. It might be some other thing that they may want to include in those sessions. Also, CTAC will cover the cost of mileage for instructors to travel to enrichment sites. The mileage will be covered at the federal mileage rate of 67 cents per mile. The evaluation criteria. This is the criteria that the applicants will be evaluated on. Of course, we have the organizational information description, the program description and implementation. As I mentioned before, the program video and the budget. The bonus points they can acquire bonus points for, as I said earlier, providing services to Archer, Hawthorne, or Waldo. Also, an additional bonus points can be acquired for utilizing an evidence-based initiative. Those who score 70 or higher will be recommended for funding contingent upon available funding. Our performance measures listed are the results that will be measured under the how much we have sites served, sessions completed, and youth attendance. Also under how well we have service provision for rural areas, partner satisfaction, youth enjoyment and engagement, and under better off, we have quality of programming and youth discovery. Just to elaborate a little bit more on the performance measures, you can see that under the how much the target areas are going to be based on the proposal. How well we have service provision in rural areas, we're looking for 30%, and to hit that 30% benchmark, partner satisfaction, 90%, quality of programming at 90%, better off. The target is 90%, and the youth discovery, 75%. This is our submission checklist, has been included to assist providers in submitting a complete application. We ask them to please pay attention to that submission checklist so that they can have a complete application at the time of submission. The trust is asking the board to approve Resolution 2024-05 and the release of the RFP. The trust is asked to authorize the $250,000 for the enrichment RFP, also asking to authorize Executive Kiner to appoint a review team of members with a subject matter of expertise.
Questions?
That's that recommendation.
Okay, you had a motion, that was your motion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but he said,
Okay, a motion saying, any questions,
I have some comments, yes.
Judge?
So it's not going to be a surprise. I spoke to Ms. Kiner about this, but over the past 6 to 8 weeks, it has become clear to me that most people, excuse me,
Yeah.
it has become clear to me in the last 6 to 8 weeks that most people that are working with, many people that are working with children do not know how to handle a situation where a child reports abuse within the program. We have contracted with the Child Advocacy Center to do trainings, and I was thrilled to see this, which is the program that you showed us earlier, where you said that this leadership class came to several hours of training. I would like to see them attend the trainings that we pay for through the Child Advocacy Center that deal with how to report reports of abuse, how to deal with human trafficking, because it is clear to me that we are not handling it properly within the state, honestly. I'll just speak to in my 8th Circuit, but I am very concerned that we don't have any areas where we're addressing what happens when a child says this. It doesn't even have to be they're saying someone in the program abused them, but what happens if they say, I'm being abused at home? Are these people getting any training at all about what to do? What do we do if a child says, I want to commit suicide? What are we doing? I think people have, if we're going to give money, I think it is critical that we have a plan in place, which we have because we have a contract with the CAC. But I understand that people are not necessarily coming to the trainings, but they're coming to this, which you said they came in several hour sessions. I don't understand why they can't come to the other trainings. I think it should be in our RFPs. I think they should get points for doing it. I'm very, this is going to be my issue for as long
Moving
as.
forward.
I am very, very
Yes.
passionate about this. And I don't think people, they need to be trained regularly on how to handle anything that happens, anything that a child says and what to do next.
Ken?
I completely agree. How would we do that with our existing contracts? 76 of them. Because that's what you're talking about.
We
You're
have a
talking about-
contract with the CAC right now to train, and the
Right.
people aren't coming to the trainings.
So
Right.
systemically, so what the judge is asking a question of is how can the trust systemically train the trust providers to be aware of that information? And I don't know if we're prepared to answer that today, but
Well, I was gonna say, Demetra, you want to come talk about what we're doing? We've had it, and after my discussion, our chat, Christy and I talked about what we could do moving forward, and what we want to do moving forward is make that a deliverable. That they have to go through initially, everybody's getting 25%, right, off top. Once we complete their contract, what is it called? It's their advance. So a deliverable to get that 25% advance would be for you to go through an initial training with CAC. And then we could have every deliverable somewhere within there, we create a schedule where they would do that. So that's what we've discussed internally to meet what you
I like that.
discussed.
I think it's a great idea.
Judge, I think that this is probably, what you're saying is absolutely correct. I don't know that this is the RFP for it though, because these people are coming to the places, the providers.
Into a
And
program.
the providers, they're adding to it, and I really think
It's
that
still,
you're absolutely.
they may still be the ones that
say
are
they
get
may
dog.
come-
And the kids may say something to them.
Yeah.
And it's in our contract. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, that it's mandatory.
But they don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And what happens is, I mean, this.
But
I'm-
we explain it.
Oh, I know you do. I'm not sure that you're not explaining it, but here's the problem, and I think, and I'm not, you were amazing, you guys are amazing. Here's the problem. When you get someone, you need to have a plan and they need to know what to do, because if a child says something, they might say, well, I don't know about that. That's a nice person. We shouldn't be making that decision. there's a process, and they have to do the process. And if they don't do the process, then, and I'm sorry if I talked about it at the wrong time, but it's just an important, I think this is so important. And I was gonna bring it up. I didn't want Mr. Lawrence to think I was picking on him, because last time I talked about trauma training, so I was gonna talk about it then, but then I held my tongue, which I was shocked at. But I just feel so strongly about this, and I just think we have to, and it's more than simply, we have to make a report. We know we're mandatory. I'm a mandatory reporter. I know that a lot of these people are mandatory reporters, but they're not reporting it. They're doing it, they're taking it internally, and that is a no for me. That is and I cannot tell you how many, I mean, we've seen it on the news. We've seen it, I've seen it in my work a lot lately. And it's becoming a huge problem. And it's a scary thing when when a kid says something to you, they may feel safe. They may come to their school and they may say, this is the first time they feel safe, right? This is the first time they feel like they can tell someone. And if that person doesn't handle it properly, then that child is closed off forever, right?
You're done.
Right. So I feel very strongly.
So it seems to me, we have a number of things we'd like to have everybody trained on who does work with our children. If we're giving a 25% advance, why not do a 1-day orientation where you line it up we have an RFP, whoever we initial, you have to go through this mandatory day long, and you can have that training, some trauma training. And in addition to that, require that each provider have policies that say, if someone says any of the following kinds of things, you are to do X, Y, and Z, and how they onboard their staff, because staff come and staff go. And we're not going to be offering this training once a week. So I think it's a combination of doing an orientation for new providers that they have to go through as part of their onboarding, and then also requiring what their policies are relative to that and how they onboard their staff.
And have their
related to that.
policy posted so that if it happens,
Right.
the numbers are there. They know what to do. I know they have those things. I mean, a lot of places have
DCF has posters actually that you can
Right.
get for free
a lot of
on abuse reporting.
We agree, and we are working on that. And I know Chrissy's working on the incident report. There are some things that we would like to add to the contracts as well. We would like to come up with a number of mandatory trainings that every provider has to go through. And we've not paid for it yet, but we're testing an LMS.
Scott just wrote LMS on my sheet.
So that
Do it and then people.
to be able to get everybody there at the same time, but we do have the ability
To do it
put
online.
in a system that we can prove they watch, can have questions somewhere in the middle of it. So we are working on that, it's not in the spare time that we don't have, we are working on it.
Thank you.
Okay, so did the judge's concern get addressed?
Yes.
Well,
Let's ask her.
Judge?
Well, it's going to be continued concern.
No, I think
I
it
think-
should be. I
yeah.
think you should be our conscience on this issue.
Yep. Well, thank you for the
Thank you.
information. I think it's very, very important.
We heard
Didn't
you.
show any passion whatsoever on that, so.
She never does.
She was very compelling when we
It's very
chatted.
important.
Is. Any questions? Any other questions?
Our number one priority, health and safety.
Well, man,
Dr. Hart. Dr. Hart.
I saw it just now.
I turned my microphone on. She could hear me.
I could hear you, Judge Ferraro, and I am totally in agreement. And I know you guys are all going to begin to roll your eyes right now. Get ready. This is what I meant by meta programming, where we fund an agency, and in this particular case, it would have to be somebody like the Child Advocacy Center or somebody that they train up to do this. I think needs to go out to each program and do the training there so every employee gets the training. It's not enough to train the executives or the leadership, because that message will not filter down to the frontline folks running the camp or the after school program. So I think Sherry Kitchens would probably have a heart attack if we suggested that she has to do this for all of the providers in the Children's Trust. So there has to be some way to clone this training program and get it out to everybody who deals with kids that we're supporting. I could not feel more strongly about this. I think we're almost negligent if we don't do it.
Well, and when I spoke to Sherry Kitchens, she agrees that the best practice would be to go to the places so that they can see what's happening. I agree, and we did talk about the meta approach, so I'm not rolling my eyes, I am in full agreement.
There are ways to do electronic learning platforms where you can do a combined, Sherry could record a training, include a pre and post test to make sure that the person has actually heard what they've been taught. And then have a refresher course periodically, and given turnover in some of these kinds of agencies, having that as part of, then that's why I said if you have a policy about it as to how you onboard new staff, and there's already a training program available that we have vetted and feel comfortable with that's on an electronic learning platform. And I can tell you at least a couple that I know of that work in that kind of space, that have things on trauma, that have things on. But if you do one, a lot of them allow you to record your own video, to do your own slides, whatever you choose. And you can, at an organization, add your own policy to it so that it's clear what the policy is. And you can sign off that you have read it and are aware of the policy.
Yeah. If you tie the first and the last payment to them doing it or not getting paid, they'll do it.
Exactly.
Judge, you good? Okay, all right.
Now, I'll come back to this later,
Okay.
next time.
So we need a motion?
We already
Had
had
a
a
motion.
public input.
Okay, public input. There being none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is unanimous. Thank y'all. Okay, the next item would be the annual audit. Scott, you gonna handle that?
I will introduce Heather Donovan, who represents Purvis Gray and was part of our fiscal year 23 audit for a report to the board.
Good afternoon.
Would you talking to the mic?
And is it green?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay. And if you'll pull the microphone over.
Yeah.
I'm Heather Donovan. I was the audit supervisor on the audit. Normally you just see me out in the audience, and Ron Whitesides, who is the partner, normally presents, but he had a prior commitment today and he couldn't attend, so he does apologize. On May 28th, we met with the Finance Committee and presented the draft audit report that you have in front of you. I'm just not going to go into as much detail as in that presentation, but
Yeah, would you like to step over in front of the mic, or you
There
can
we
move
go.
the mic, either one?
I won't go into as much detail, but I'll hit the high points and give you mainly our opinions and recommendations that we have. If you will, on page 1, independent auditors report. And the most important part of this report is in the second paragraph under the opinions, and it is actually the opinion that we issued on the financial statements. It is an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. It's the best opinion that you can get, that the financial statements present fairly and in all material respects are clean. We did note during our audit process a couple of recommendations that we have related to internal controls, which are on page 39. Page 39. During our audit process, we look at internal controls during our testing to ensure that controls are in place and to determine the effectiveness of the controls. But during the audit, we do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of the control, but if it is brought to light during our testing, if there are any deficiencies or recommendations that we have, we do bring those to management. In the second paragraph on, page 39, it, gives you the definitions of what we consider to be deficiencies, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies. We did note, like I said, several recommendations that we have in the internal controls that we noted, during our, audit process, and they're on page, 40 and 41. The first that we, recommendation that we have is to do with the timeliness and the accuracy of bank reconciliations. When we were, looking at bank reconciliations, it was noted that,
Let's see you dance around this.
that the bank reconciliations were not completed in a timely manner. And that led to, a delay in the audit process. So once.
And let me stop you there if you don't
Okay.
mind, just so we can explain some of it, so it doesn't look like it's all,
No, it's
over on
not.
it. It had nothing to do with our people. It was, the company that was helping,
Yeah.
the company that was helping us previously,
Not helping, being paid for.
being paid for and
Yeah,
and
they
not,
were helping, they were doing.
and not doing what they were supposed to be doing. So, it was not internal, it was external. So.
Correct. And then upon reviewing the actual bank reconciliations, whenever they were provided, there were a couple of errors that were detected in the actual bank reconciliation. And so some audit adjustments had to be prepared to correct those errors. And moving on to the second one is financial close and reporting. And this goes along the same lines of the accuracy of the bank reconciliations. We did have to prepare several adjustments to the financial statements for things like compensated absences and accruing wages and benefits, mainly closing the books type entries. This also was the first year that normally the previous accounting firm would prepare the financial statements, and they didn't prepare them this time. So some of these entries are just closing out and cleaning up the books to actually present the financial statements. Also noted during our review were journal entries were sometimes created, posted, and approved in the accounting software by one employee. This just is an internal control process, segregation of duties issue that, sometimes whenever you do have to get things done and you don't have time, you do have to post some entries, and this is what happened, trying to get the financial statements up to par and timeliness, and that's why those occurred. But all these together kind of made a bigger issue of control issues. But I don't know if Scott wants to go ahead right now. He has some recommendations that are already being made to make the corrections for these.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. A couple of things. What I'm going to discuss right now is in our management response to the audit. But I feel important to comment on a couple of things. Certainly bank reconciliations, and tied with financial close. Those are, kind of kissing cousins, right? They have to be done consistently. We're moving towards a policy where bank reconciliations are done by the 15th calendar day in the following month, and the month end happens by the end of the following month. Those are two primary ones. We're working with our team to accomplish that. The third one, around one person having, control of the whole process, to me is really a never event. I certainly will never be one to enter journal entries on my own. We have that resolved. I think we had a structure in place, but there are some circumstances that preceded all of this. It really, kind of culminated in the outcome. So we've got separations of duties in place. For all three of these, we will provide regular updates to the Finance Committee, no less than quarterly, just to affirm. In particular, we're making progress on our action plan, but in also affirming on a regular basis that those controls stay in place so that we have the right kind of control environment broadly for the Children's Trust.
And those recommendations are part of a letter that will be included with the audit report. Also, We have a management letter, which is on page 42, that starts on page 42, that is required by the Auditor General, and this is their boilerplate letter that we utilize. I do want to point out that there is specific information that is reported on page 43 that is required for entities such as the Children's Trust. And this is just a way that the Auditor General compiles data all in one particular place from entities so that they have it for the legislature. On page 45, there is a report on compliance with section 218.415 of the Florida statutes, which deals with investments, and there were no issues noted with those. Also, in addition to the audit report, there is a letter that is sent to those charged with governance. It should be a separate letter from the audit report. You will see that we outlined significant matters such as accounting policies that were implemented during the year. I did want to point out that we had to implement GASB 96, which is subscription-based information technology arrangements. And I will note whenever I go through the financial statements of how that affected the financial statements. We also had to GASB 87, which dealt with leases, was applicable in the prior year, but there were no leases. But this year there was a lease that we had to utilize the accounting practices of GASB 87. If you'll note on the at the bottom of the page of page 1 that there are significant estimates that we do use in the financial statements, particularly for other post-employment benefits or OPEB, and those related to the Florida retirement system. And both of those are based on actuarial valuations that are provided to us by the entities. Again, the difficulties encountered in performing the audit, we had no difficulties with management, but there was a delay due to timing of receipt of certain requested documentation just due to timeliness. There are some corrected misstatements that are attached in the schedule of audit adjustments. Management has accepted all of these and made all these. I know it does look like a lot of pages, but it's really not. There's just a lot of general ledger accounts that they get. But other than that, it was a very clean audit, and I was very pleased to work with the staff. I will go over some of the financial highlights. Like I said, we did have to implement which affected the financial statements. So if you'll turn to page, I believe it's 14. And this is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. And this is more so what you would see in your own checkbook. You know, do you have the money coming in, and do you see the money going out? I do want to note that the taxes increased by about revenue increased by about $200,000. I know that the millage rate was reduced, but this is due to new construction that's not accounted for whenever they make the taxable valuations. You will note that there was approximately $650,000 more in interest that was earned this year, and that was due to just the current economic situation where the interest rates are higher, or paid be higher. The total program expenditures for children's services, which is what is provided to the providers, increased by almost $1.2 million. I know that that sounds like, oh, well, we've increased our expenses, you know, that might not be, you know, the best thing, but that is a good thing whenever you're such a young entity that you are, you know, utilizing the funds that are being, the tax dollars. You'll also note that there's about a $200,000 increase in administrative operating costs, and that was just due to additional positions being added to account for the increase in activity. You will notice too that there is a debt service section now on this statement. I know that you all are probably aware that you're not allowed, that children's service councils are not allowed to have debt. But this is related to the implementation of the new GASBs. And this is just to let the reader know that there is debt that has to be paid based on these subscription-based information technology agreements and based on the leases that are being utilized by the trust. And if you'll note that there was a net change in fund balance of a positive $1.4 million, which increased the fund balance up to $12.8 million, which is a very healthy fund balance for the trust. Back on page 12, you'll note that there was a $1.1 million increase in cash over the prior year, and this is mainly due to the increase in revenues and the change in the fund balance. Also, if you note that there are still prepaid expenses listed, those are for the rent for the previous building, and those will be removed next year because they were utilized. The liabilities, actually, the liabilities this year decreased. Most of it was in the grants payables by about $145,000, and that's due to actually implementing that providers have to turn in their reimbursement requests in a more timely manner. If you note on page 10 and 11, most of these dollar amounts carry over from the balance sheet and the statement of revenues to the statement of net position and statement of activities. But you will notice that there are deferred outflows and deferred inflows that are listed on the statement of net position. And these are related to the actuarial valuations for the FRS liabilities and the OPEB liabilities. I did want to note that there is a net pension liability of almost $1 million. This is not something that would be owed tomorrow. This is just a projection of what would be owed by the trust if the current trend in the FRS investments continues, and it fluctuates from year to year. But this is more of a long-term financial help, the statement of net position and statement of activities. However, the other statements, the balance sheet and statement of revenues and expenditures is more of, like what you have day to day.
Ken.
Thank you, Heather. So you all got the 10-minute version of the hour and 45-minute version of the Finance Committee. And during that meeting, we approved the annual audit. We approved a motion that asks our financial director to implement all of the recommendations noted in the audit and address any issues in the management letter, namely, as Scott already mentioned, bank recs, timely financial statements, segregation of duties, and really an implementation of the oversight controls, monthly controls that will start at the director of finance, and then to the extent he's doing things, lead to the executive director, and then further result in a quarterly kind of controls at the finance committee, since we just established the finance committee. So with that, I would thank the auditors and move that we accept the fiscal year 2023 annual audit report.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public
I was gonna say, I got like really confused. I was like, wait, thinking we were like on June. I was like, oh, wait, no, this is for 23.
Yeah.
The time is like just like zooming by.
September 23.
September 23, yeah.
There being no public discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's unanimous. Ms. Donovan, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item would be the unallocated funding plan, and I must apologize to y'all. We had a workshop and we had a motion in the workshop and we shouldn't have. About.
So I would move that we adopt the unallocated funding plan recommended by staff with the following two additions and changes. One, see if the 300,000 can be utilized and classified under goal 1 and increase up to the additional 491,000 of unallocated. And 2, from the junior achievement funding, make sure that the county attorney and make sure with the county attorney that the funding is not administered by the school board and would not run afoul of the funding the school board under this statute.
We had a motion in a couple seconds. Any discussion? Any public discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion is unanimous. Next item is the tentative budget. We went through it earlier. Are there any questions?
Move approval of the tentative budget.
Second.
Okay, and were there any other things in it?
Well, the millage rate and all that's next.
Yeah, there are two resolutions coming.
Okay, I didn't know we had any
You want me
changes.
to do those all together?
No, we need to do the resolutions by independently.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion is unanimous. Next item is resolution 2024-06, millage rate.
Yeah, I would move approval of resolution 2024-06, setting the proposed millage rate at 4.5 mils.
Okay, there any discussion?
Second. Second. Did he do both of those? He did 17 and 18 together?
That's
Oh,
18.
just 17? Okay, the millage. Okay, I thought I heard you say something after that.
We
Okay.
did discuss it, but so let's assume.
Okay.
Any public discussion? There being none, all
I have a
those.
question before you,
Nope.
I don't vote on this, the millage rate,
No.
is that right? Okay.
Okay, all those in favor,
we have a second?
yes,
Okay.
all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
So were you here when we had the?
Yeah, I was, but I just wanted
Okay.
right now.
So I have to make clear that I did not vote.
Yeah, so, yeah, the judge.
Yeah, the minutes will reflect.
Oh, I didn't vote.
Lee, and now I would move resolution 2024-07, tentative budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimous. Okay.
Vote on the budget.
On the budget, not
Getting voted on this.
It's not the millage.
So at this point, we ask the public if they'd like to discuss anything with the board that wasn't on the agenda, just popped in their mind. Come on up.
Not in your mind.
Green, so I've got that right.
Can you put it where we can hear you?
Okay, anyway, I'm Martha Cox. I'm with Episcopal Children's Services. And I think as you all know, you're funding the Summer Bridge program for us. And last year we were able to serve almost 60 children. And so, but this year we, with your support, we're able to go much further. And so with the help of Mia and Bonnie and everyone on how we could make the budget stretch as far as it could, we're thinking it could stretch to 100 kids, but we are actually able to enroll and have on the first day of school 119 children, and 22 children are receiving before and after care that we are being funded by the trust. So it's,
tremendous.
I know in this kind of work, you don't always get good news and that there's always issues, but I just wanted you to know how grateful we are and how much we appreciate you and doing this. And we will have a lot of kindergarten-ready kindergartners for you.
Great. And how much we appreciate you and what y'all are doing. So, thank you.
I think last year when we kind of did our little debrief, the board asked if we would include administrative support. Will you speak to that?
Yes, that has been a lifesaver. So we have a full-time project manager. She started in April and she'll go through August and has really just made enrollment fly. We actually had to cut off enrollment. We do have a wait list. So if we find that somebody isn't attending, but we actually wanted to go to all of our directly operated centers to offer this, but we ran out of space. So just to throw in when you're thinking about, next year's budget, I just want you to know that we're good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said you have kindergarten ready students are, and maybe the superintendent also can probably add on this. Are we actually tracking the students that matriculate through Head Start? Like, I know you probably had data there, but when they come into K-5, are we keeping up with them to know like how they're progressing along and comparing them to students who don't go through Head Start or something?
I don't know that we have.
Yeah. I was hoping that we would, because in the past, when the district had Head Start, it wasn't kept. And so I was hoping that we would start doing that to be able to see.
Yeah, there is a project being done by the University of Florida that's still in the kind of startup mode to really look at tracking children who go through preschool, children who are funded through the Early Learning Coalition, children with Head Start, and to be able to track them through. But that's a longer term issue. So, but what we do have is we will be able to show you pre and post data for all the children that we have. So we're very excited about that.
And I thought we were working with the school board to try to see how students that are getting funding from the trust, how they fared once they got into the school system. So that, you know, I thought that's been a discussion at least once or twice.
That was, I mean, really early.
Early on.
Really early.
I mean, if we can do that, because that's,
Well, we are working with
That'd be amazing.
district staff on being able to pull data. So perhaps that's something we can begin to.
I mean,
to see.
that's the proofs in the
Get
pudding
data
sort of
sharing
thing,
agreement.
you know, if we can do it, you know. So if, you know, that's something that I think is important, because when we go,
Yep.
when, you know, for reauthorization, you know, we can say, you know,
Here's
here it is.
proof. Right.
And, okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That, it'd be nice if there's a data element piece, so as we enroll any student, let's say kindergarten roundup, that
Mhm.
question could be.
Yeah, they can first.
Yeah.
They know that.
Was your
Yeah.
child enrolled in VPK, pre-K, ESC,
Mhm.
ELC?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great start.
Great idea.
That would be a great start.
Way to track it.
Or any CTEC summer program?
Yeah.
Any summer school?
There were quite a series, yeah, any C-Tech summer program, if the schools could ask that, then,
First, we need the intro.
but it would certainly remove the need for data sharing agreement.
Yeah.
Those pesky things.
Okay, so any board comments?
A comment?
Okay, Judge?
Yeah, I had to pull it off my computer. I just wanted to, as to Nina's comment, the state court system, starting on June 1st of 2024, has authorized both maternal and paternal maternity leave for the birth or adoption of children paid. So more than just us.
Thank you. Ken?
I just want to make a comment to our staff. This is a tremendous amount of work to get ready for today's board meeting, both from the finance perspective and really the staff perspective. And sometimes I wonder, should we take a month off, because y'all have to do like 2 months worth of work preparing for it, but there's a lot of stuff in here, and I just wanted to thank you all, because it takes a long time to get all this stuff together. Yeah, I'm pointing directly to your Director of Finance, and really his
Been on this,
ability to
who's
work.
been with us a month and a half, not even that long, 6 weeks.
Yeah,
About 6
and what I would say to that, and being a former accountant,
Mhm.
you know, and an auditor, is that that acceleration of your learning curve
Mhm.
is largely due to the interactions with all of your staff and with their ability
Mhm.
to interact directly with you. And so I thank Scott a lot, and I will continue to thank you, but this was really to thank the staff for working with Scott and for working with Christie and Marcia to get us to where we actually have a tentative budget prior to break.
Mhm.
We can put some real thought into it before we come back in August. And I've been here since we've started it, and we haven't been here before. So that's kudos to you, Marcia, and your staff, and obviously Scott. So I just had to say that.
And it's well said.
Thank you.
You know, it's funny because I was thinking as we were just talking, how elevated the conversation at the board has become.
Yeah, well, it allows for
It's-
that when,
At the interaction with staff, the ability to get the kinds of presentations that we had today around the RFP, around everything that we've been doing. It's just, I remember from the early days, even the 5 months that I was just in the, or however long it was till we got appointed, that it was just the five of you up there and I was just part of the audience. It's a very different feel in this boardroom and I am.
Well, we have staff, it was just the five of us and Claudia and
Northside County people.
Tom and
Yeah, it
and
was-
Bob.
But, you know, even in the.
But we're doing good, right?
Yeah, we are. It's really a very different
It is.
discussion.
Yeah.
Kudos to everybody.
And in her absence, Christy always does a heavy lift. And I never want to, not acknowledge her, ability to, try to prepare me and work with staff. So, we receive that, but I also have to say, to my team, thank you guys for all that you do, always. Thank you.
Well, guess what? We've reached that time. The meeting is adjourned.
Early, let's look at what was left in the agenda.
It's only 5:30.
Well, we had done a lot of.
We did a lot of planning.
Hurry up, we gotta go. Hurry up. Blood sugar, go.
And it worked out well, didn't it?